Hello everybody. Hi, it's Michelle. I'm here in my very own kitchen. We're going to do the joy of cooking with Michelle, and thank you for joining me. Today is a recreation, I have to tell you. I was at the Delta, downtown Kingston, at a health conference about 2 weeks ago. And I had this really amazing dish. Of course, probably most of the food from the conference, probably came from Aquaterra. So it goes without saying that the food was spectacular. The best, healthiest food that I've ever had at a conference, bar none. And one thing they had on the lunch buffet was this white bean and pasta dish. And I tried to recreate it on the weekend in practicing for today. And I didn't quite nail it. I ended up making a white bean cold salad. But I wanted this to be a warm entree, the way it was served at the conference. So I made some tweaks in it. The thing is that we are using couscous. Now, I was thinking that the pasta that was in the dish was really small. So you probably could use something like orzo. I'm thinking couscous, like pearl couscous or Israeli couscous, but not the couscous that's instant. It has to be something that's bigger and it has to be cooked. And then the trick is to undercook it. So this is what I've used, and I've used about 3/4 of a cup of the dried couscous to start with. And I wanted to get it in a good proportion to the white kidney beans. So these are the white kidney beans that we're going to use. And it was just 1 can of 540 mils of the no-name brand white kidney beans. So the other thing about this is that you will want to drain this and run it under the water and make sure the beans totally don't have any of the sauce from the can in it, because it's kind of slimy. And the other thing is, it's the sauce that it's cooked in. Now, I used some regular tomato sauce on the weekend. That didn't work. So to recreate this recipe, I have thought to myself, I have 1 cup of this Mott's Garden cocktail, because it was a tomatoey base on the bottom, but it wasn't thick. And then the idea is we're going to throw all this together. We're going to get the sauce just right. Then we're going to put it in the oven. I'm preheating the oven right now at 375 degrees, and probably won't have to cook more than 15-20 minutes tops to heat all the way through. So the sauce is going to have to be a little thin because it's going to thicken, especially with the carbohydrates and the grains in it. It'll thicken a little bit, but not too much. So I love doing things like this. When I go out for dinner and I have something and I think to myself, how could they have made that? So here we go. What I've done is I've taken 2 small onions, or you could use a good medium-sized onion. There was a lot of onions in this recipe, and I cut it a thick julienne style. There was very little other vegetables in this recipe. It was mostly pasta, beans, onions, and a little thin, watered down tomatoey. It's more like a broth. Now what I've chosen to do besides the onions is, and I've kept them, like I said, really julienne and long, and then I just sauteed them ahead of time so that they're translucent, just like that. And then what I did was I had a little orange pepper. So So what I've done is sauteed those, and I've cut them again also thick julienne style. So also celery. I did some celery, and of course I've got my couscous. Sorry. The other thing I was thinking would be fun is to just put a little bit of green onion on top. Just gonna snip it with some scissors and put it on the top just to make it look really pretty. Gotta tell you, we're gonna throw this together in just a minute. But who's been outside enjoying this weather? Hard to believe this is April, and here it's the 22nd of April right now. Hard to believe. Guess what I did today? I went out. I have a little patio garden that you've seen before, and I planted my peas, and I also planted some parsley and some lettuce. It's perfect timing because all of these vegetables from seed, they will come up and they love this weather. So we're not going to get any more frost, I don't believe. I've looked at the weather ahead of time. And these sorts of vegetables, especially the lettuce and the peas, thrive in cooler weather. So I think that's going to be fantastic. I'll keep you up to date on how my garden's doing. I'll take a picture every now and then. Now, I'm going to put all this together. We're going to toss it up. It's going to be really simple. Like I said, I've sauteed the few vegetables, the onions, the celery, and the peppers already. When you cook the couscous, remember to undercook it. So it says to cook the couscous for 8 or 10 minutes. I probably cooked it 6 or 7 maximum because it's going to continue cooking in the oven. And I want it to be firm, not soggy. The other thing is, I'll tell you a secret. I cooked my couscous in my rice cooker. I'm a big fan of rice cookers. Okay, let's throw this together. Oh, one more thing I have to tell you. I was at Food Basics, and I've noticed since Christmas time that they have had this product. It's where they have the garlic, the dried garlic, the garlic bulbs, and the ginger in that area at Food Basics. I don't know where else it would be sold. Like, they're just very little packages, and the brand is called Jardinière. It's from Quebec. It's a Canadian product. It's dried herbs, dried garlic, dried onions, and herbs. And actually what I did, there's about 3 teaspoons in one of these containers. If you are making this and you don't have that seasoning mix, what I would recommend is chopping up a garlic, sauteing it a little bit, maybe with the onions, and be careful because it gets brown really fast. Or you could use some garlic powder. I think a little bit of garlic in this recipe would be fantastic. Look at the herbs in that. Can you see it? So it's really quick and easy. It will save you time when you have herbs like this around. Now let's throw this together. I'm going to put the beans in the bottom, and I'm going to put the couscous in next. And like I said, I think you could probably get away with using orzo, but I wouldn't use anything bigger than a macaroni noodle. You could probably just use rice also. Rice probably would work. So you would pre-cook any of those, but like I said, undercook them a little bit. The interesting thing about this recipe when I saw it served on the buffet is I was very interested to try it because I could tell that there was a lot of beans in it, and I'm a big fan of beans. And it was beige. And I thought, oh, well, that's not very attractive, but I bet you it tastes really good. And I was absolutely right. I was mesmerized by it. I'm never one to go back to the buffet a second time. but I was so tempted. Okay, now the next thing I'm gonna do, I hope you can see this. I think you probably can. I'm gonna put the onions in. This is a pretty good container for this. You don't want this to be too thin layered. So I'm wondering if a lasagna pan actually might work with this. Because you don't want it to be a really thin layer on the bottom, but you don't want it to be too thick either. So even a lasagna dish might be good for this. It's always, I'm the worst person to try to measure volume, to predetermine how much volume this will all take up. Yeah, you know what? I'm thinking this might be really good in a lasagna pan for sure. But it's only taking up about 3/4 of this. So that's good. It's not like it's gonna overflow. If you follow me a lot, you'll notice sometimes I have to change pans because I've miscalculated the volume. There. So it's pretty neutral looking. It's not one of those recipes that you're looking and you're thinking, oh, I want it to be very colorful and add all these vegetables. And also the vegetables are very neutral. I just put the celery in and the peppers because I had them, but I think it's a good addition. Now, here's the thing. I wanted to start out with 3/4 cup because I wasn't really sure how much I needed. And of course, I think that the volume of the tomato juice and broth that you would use would of course depend on the size of the dish that you've got it in, whether it's in 9x11 lasagna pan, or this looks like really good. And when I made this on the weekend, I found it too tomatoey. That's why I was thinking a little bit half tomato, half broth. So I've used 3/4 cup of tomato juice, tomato cocktail. Now you could use Mott's Clamato garden cocktail, no name tomato juice. I like this. I bought the low sodium, and it also has all the other vegetables in it too. So it will give off more flavor also. Give it a garden fresh flavor. There, this is good. Now, so I've got, that was 1 cup, and then this is 3/4 cup of broth. I don't think I'm gonna use it all. I think what I'll do is it's probably half. So it's 1 cup of the vegetable juice, half a cup of the broth. And there, now I'm really happy with this. This looks like a really good consistency. It's about 3/4 of the height of the beans. And I'm gonna sprinkle the herbs on top and mix those in. Oh, there. I think this is gonna be fantastic. I like this. It's very simple. And if you have leftovers, it'll be perfect for a couple days. And of course, high in fiber, high in protein, high in iron. When you're cooking with the beans and the peas and the lentils, it's a win-win situation. Now this is what I was thinking would be really nice. For a little bit of green on top. There, we don't have to go crazy with this. Again, I'm just snipping some green onions with my kitchen scissors. There. It's awesome. I'm going to spread them around. And they'll cook, but they won't get really soggy. There we go. All done. Look at that. I think this is a perfect size dish. There we go. I'm going to pop it in the oven, and I'm going to put the proportions and the recipe up for you so that you can make it yourself. And I think you're just going to love it. Especially if you love beans and pasta. You have to be an onion lover if you are going to try this recipe, or cut back on the onions. Because like I said, you need a good size, a medium to large onion. You need a lot of onion. And when it all cooks together, it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. I will take a picture, put the recipe up with all the ingredients so you can try it at home yourself. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a good day. Bye. See you again, same time, same station, next Monday. Bye. Thanks for joining.